Welcome to the Community Engagement Initiative webinar series. My name is Tony Hernandez, coach and mentor for CABE. I'm very happy to be the host of our webinar today. The Community Engagement Initiative is a 5-year effort intended to strengthen the system of support by building the capacity of our school districts to authentically engage one another. This includes identifying effective models of community engagement, building the capacity of families, educators, as well as building trusting relationships in order to have difficult conversations that focus on the success of our students. For the past year, our work has focused on identifying effective models of community engagement that prevent or help address what the 6 core causes that have been found to hinder or get in the way of authentic community engagement. This webinar series has been designed to support districts from across the state by focusing on practices that directly address the 6 core root causes of ineffective engagement. Today, you will learn how Parlier Unified School District and Verde Unified School District are working with their families, their students, the staff, community partners, collaboratively to address what is the lack of understanding and expertise of what highly effective family engagement should look like. I'm happy to welcome today Parlier Unified School District, Dr. Ruben Diaz, and his wonderful staff that will share their best practices with us today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Ruben Diaz. I am the Assistant Superintendent with Parlier Unified School District, and we are here at our team to share our Community and Parent Engagement Initiative as part of our district's Vision 25. I'd like to introduce our team at this point. Ms. Barboa.
Good afternoon. My name is Rosie Barboa, and I am the Director of Categorical Programs and Compliance.
Good afternoon. I'm Lydia Martinez, and I'm the Prevention and Intervention Coordinator for Parlier Unified School District.
Good afternoon. I am Cristina Aguilar, Principal of Matthew J. Berlette.
Good afternoon. My name is Julissa Montalvo, and I am the Learning Director at Matthew J. Berlette.
Good afternoon. I'm Fabiola Rodriguez, and I'm a teacher at Matthew J. Berlette.
Good afternoon. My name is Idris Valle, and I'm a history teacher at Parlier Junior High School.
Hello, I'm Eric Morin. I'm the COO for Success Together.
So today's presentation is to talk about a couple of different things. Parlier Unified has been involved in our collaboration efforts to engage our parents and community members here in Parlier. Over the last several years, we've been working on this engagement initiative, and this year it has culminated with our participation in cohort number 2 as part of this initiative. We'd like to start off first with a little background of our district, our demographics. Ms. Barboa?
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share with you a little bit about our school district, a little bit of our demographics. Our Vision 25 is a 5-year plan for the entire district. Our focus is every student, everyone, every day. And those are aligned to our LCAP goals, which are accomplished students, supportive environment, and empowered community. Our total student enrollment consists of over 98.2 Hispanic. We also have white, American Indian, and Asian, but they consist of less than 1%. We have a total of 7 schools. We have 4 elementaries, 1 middle school, and 2 high schools. The district receives an annual revenue of over $60 million on an annual basis. As far as our total employees, both classified and certificated, we have 444 employees, which consist of classified and certificated. Our attendance rate for this year is 93.6%. Our graduation rate is 94.9%. So we're really proud of our graduation rate. Another thing that we are very proud of is our suspension rate, which has decreased consistently, and we had a decrease this year of 3%. Of our total student enrollment, we have a total of 43.3% English learners in our district. We this year we have a total of 10.8 of reclassified students in the entire district. And as far as college and career readiness, we have a score of 84.7. So that is our demographic information for Parlier Unified. Before we proceed, I'd also like to say that the slides that you will see will be both in English and Spanish. For us, it's very important to provide access to all our students and to all our parents. As I mentioned before, we have a high number of English learners. And so with our families being such a high number, we are providing the slides in both English and Spanish. So Mr. Diaz.
All right, so a little bit about our parent engagement of then and now and where we've been. As Ms. Barboa had mentioned, Vision 25 is specifically laid out in purpose of identifying 5 specific areas that the district wanted to improve in. In looking at our curriculum and instruction area, or educational services, that was one of the 5 identified areas. But what we also did was we looked out 5 years ahead, thus 5 areas, 5 years, Vision 25. But what we also had to do was take a look at where we had been, and understanding where we were coming from over the last several years really allowed us to take a look and see what was the root cause that was preventing our parents from accessing information, from our parents being having a higher engagement percentage, and really having a true partner, educational partner with our community. While we do have a very supportive parent community, it's having that educational partner in having them attend school site council, ELAC, DLAC, that was a challenge for us. And so this is our journey as time has gone on. So back in 2017-18, what we were at that time, each of our school sites was running their own parent engagement program. We had some sites that are partnered with PK. We had other sites that had partnered with Fresno County Office of Education. And so the classes were offered different times, different days, not in alignment. And so we had, while we were offering things, they weren't in an alignment. They were offered in silos. We were still doing the traditional method of sending flyers home with the students, which is all well and good, nothing wrong with that. But that really was the limit of how we were sending information home to our families. And then at that time, we were exclusively site-based, doing meetings with our school site council, ELAC and DLAC. So very traditional, very conservative in 2017-18. However, through our feedback, through parent surveys, what we were finding out was there was a desire for things to start changing. We had parents asking us for new ways, new avenues of information. And so we also had noticed through our enrollment process that we started to see a decline of students staying with us in secondary. So while our attendance rate is very healthy in elementary, we noticed a decline of students staying with our district in junior high, and then an even steeper decline in high school. And so what we needed to do is, we have good programs being offered at the high school and at the junior high school. We just weren't marketing it. And so that's what we needed to do. So in 2018-19, we created what was called the District Showcase. So part of their showcase was born in a collaboration, actually mainly of a lot of these team members here today, and in bringing to life the different programs that are offered. And when I say programs, I'm talking about ASB offices, different teams, our VROP CTE program, which is one of the top, not just in our county, but actually in the state. We have one of the highest percentages of CNA graduates for high school successfully completing their CNA program and going on to local colleges and universities with units already completed. It was through Showcase that really started the effort of bringing to life and really developing a two-way communication street between our parents, community members, stakeholders, and our district office. And so we had planned on 1,000 people showing up, all departments, all school sites, transportation, our visual performing arts, just a great event, and we'll be able to show some images of that a little bit later. But we ended up with over 2,500 people showing up. And that really showed us that there was a hunger to really become engaged both ways, our community becoming more engaged with us as a district, and our district becoming more engaged with our community and our parents. 2018-19 also saw the alignment of our district parenting classes, where we partnered with Valley PBS. And at that time, Valley PBS offered set classes. They were all developed with consultation of parents and teachers and administrators, and they were offered at all 7 school sites, including our alternative education site. They were offered in staggering times, so that if a parent wanted to go to Chavez, but you know what, there's a cool topic over at Benavides, I can go to Benavides as well. So it was a district-wide effort that they got parents got to attend any one of them. We held them in the mornings and we held them in the evenings. And so that allowed for our parents, whether we have agricultural workers, they had to attend in the evening. But if we had parents that were available in the mornings, they could stay for the morning. So that really helped out a lot. In 2018-19, we also began holding LCAT meetings for parents at one central location. And at that point, we had about 30 responses. But in having a stakeholder meeting, we did see that there was the beginning of building trust and collecting input from our parents and community members. In 2019-2020, so this is pre-COVID, we began utilizing digital notification systems. And so Peachjar partnered with us. We also really heavily invested into our websites. And just going into that digital, we started to see a new crop of parents becoming engaged at the schools. Our teachers really had the ability now to have two-way communication and be able to receive feedback from our parents, no longer reliant on searching their students' backpacks for a flyer. Things were now being digitized. And so this was the first round of moving into a digital age of information. Our Valley PBS parent workshops continued, and things were on the uprise. Now, of course, we all felt Friday the 13th, March 13th of 2020, when the education world stopped. And for us, it stopped briefly because our teachers, our staff, our administrators took about a week to figure out, okay, how do we keep our kids engaged? How do we keep our kids moving? And because we had already started these initiatives, we were able to communicate with our families and offer a tiered step of instruction. And we went from packets for a few weeks, but then we moved within that spring to distance learning. So we had started distance learning even before it really officially became a thing. And bless our teachers and our staff members for doing that, because it kept the initiatives alive. It kept our parents connected to the school. So we didn't have that distance of 3 months, 4 months that, okay, what's the school district doing? Because we kept our kids on camera, we kept our staff on camera, we were able to communicate, and that communication really paid off, because once we jumped into the 2020-2021 school year, then we really were able to further engage our parents. And so with the adding of Parent Square, that really allowed all 7 school sites to have an alignment of parent communication. Our parents had already started to migrate to digital because of Peachjar and the websites. This really just added a nice element of engagement back and forth. 2021 also offered the opportunity for us to begin virtual meetings. And so in looking at virtual meetings, we were able to now host our school site council, our ELAC, our DLAC in a virtual element where parents who still felt a little, oh, I don't know if we should be meeting in person, which, okay, let's not. But in a virtual setting, such as we're doing now, we actually had an increase of parents attending. We no longer were having to cancel meetings because we didn't have quorum. And so this allowed a new opportunity, and we're very excited what this is going to look like going forward by offering in-person and virtual in a hybrid setting. We've also increased our awareness and communication out to parents, because parents can now watch board meetings. They can watch LCAPs presentations. They even got to watch graduation and recognition celebrations on YouTube. Our technology department has really come alive, and by offering streaming services for free to our community, and not just YouTube, we also have on our social media, we did Facebook Lives, and is Facebook Lives, it's now a verb, right? We Facebook Lived here. And so in doing all of those kinds of different opportunities, again, we were further engaging our parents and looking at that root cause analysis. What does quality engagement look like? To us, quality engagement simply meant, are the parents logging on? Are the parents signing in? And are the parents able to access this information? And looking at how many hits and viewers and clicks we were getting, we are working our way towards quality, because every time these numbers have grown. And that's been a very good thing, because we want to make sure our community is informed. We continued to develop our social media presence. And so now we've expanded to Twitter, Instagram, and of course we still on Facebook. Switching over to Success Together parent workshops. So as I mentioned, Valley PBS, there was a switch there, and Mr. Moran can get into a little bit more about what that meant. But again, we still continued an alignment and that partnership, and making sure that district-wide, we continue together in that one area, offering continuous support to our parent education. One of the biggest areas, though, that really has meant a huge difference was our LCAP input. And what we had planned on doing was holding individual meetings, input meetings at every single school site. Due to COVID, obviously, we couldn't do that. And so what we did was we hosted meetings along with a Google survey that was live. And so when we did these live streams, people could just jump online and do the Google survey simultaneous. We ended up with over 100 responses, which for us, again, 2 years ago, we had 30. Just in those 2 years, we increased it to 100. So that was a huge, we thought a nice, huge increase for us. And then the final piece of 2021 was we hired a district translator. So as Ms. Balboa had mentioned, a lot of our parents, our community, are Spanish speakers, primary Spanish speakers. And so having the ability to have all communication, all phone calls, all text messages, any document that goes out is automatically translated within the district prior to it leaving and being sent out. Looking ahead to next year, and where this really has now moved towards, a part of this is our collaboration that we've learned being in this initiative. We have hired a family and community empowerment coordinator. I'll be diving into our FACE program in a bit. And then we also have, we're going to start the Parent Center, which again, working with Success Together on parent workshops going district-wide. So the then and now, just within the 5 years, has been a fast, furious journey. It's been a positive one. Our district is very excited how this is going to impact our students. But again, we want to look at what led us to this and how did we find this? And so in looking at our root cause analysis here, and let me go ahead and move there. What we wanted to discover was what were the barriers to parent engagement? And over the last several years, there's just been a lot of turnover with administrators at the district level. And so when you have turnover, there's a perceived lack of access. Who do we talk to? Who do we go see? And then it turns into who do we trust? And that's not something that is taken lightly. And so this current administration is aware of the history here. And then there was also the lack of a unified direction. Again, that all kind of goes back to when you have constant turnover, who do I trust? And there's a continuous, well, there's a new vision, there's a new mission, there's a new direction. And what it led to was a lot of work. We have hard workers here, but when you have continual changing visions, it makes it hard. And so Vision 25 has really provided from the top, from administrators, this is the direction we're going, and it's for 5 years. So no matter who comes into play, the district as a whole, we have a direction. And so any change, guess what? We already got the vision. You got to jump on board with the vision. This train's moving. So that'll help us in a continuum of making sure that our district continues to move in a consistent direction. And so looking at our next one here, those identified barriers, as we mentioned before, but the fourth one there, the limited access to information really comes into play. And as you can see, a lot of the efforts that we've made here are to hit all of those areas very specific in that perceived limited access to information. Perception is the reality. If the parent feels that, if a community member feels that, that's the reality. And we have to make sure that we address it and make sure that we provide consistent information, consistent access, and consistent people so that our community, our parents, our staff all feel that, yes, they're in it for our kids, they're in it for support of our community, and that's what we want to make sure that we continue to press out. So I mentioned 3 different areas that are that really were the root of moving forward here. And so introduced and talked a little bit about the Parlier Unified Showcase, Success Together, and our FACE program. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Ms. Lydia Martinez to talk about the showcase.
Good afternoon. I'm Lydia Martinez, Prevention and Intervention Coordinator for Parlier Unified, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about our showcase. Dr. Diaz mentioned it at the beginning of the presentation. This has really become one of our signature projects. We learned a lot in developing this and putting it together, collaborating. This really was a group effort, a team effort. We did things differently, and by looking at our attendance, we had over 2,000 people attend this event. So we definitely wanted to see what were the things that we did this time that were different. Why were we successful this time in bringing in so many people in an afternoon? And so our outreach was done a little bit different. Instead of just sending a flyer to inform them of the event, we did save the dates, and we did this with plenty of time. We made them very colorful. As we mentioned, everything is bilingual. We did them in English and Spanish. So we started talking about this with plenty of time. We even went to local news stations, both in English and Spanish. We went to 2 different stations, and it was in the morning shows when our parents were watching the news, and they can get information. So we really got them excited about everything we were going to offer at this event. In addition to that, we did NTI messages, several messages that were going out, just reminding parents that this event was coming up. We're very fortunate we have marquees at all of our school sites. So this was, again, posted at all the school sites. As I mentioned, our attendance was over 2,000 people in attendance. One of the great things about this is that we had over 80 booths, and we had one of our baseball fields that we used, and we had plenty of space to accommodate all those booths. And these included high school clubs and just the different programs that we had in the district. As Dr. Diaz had mentioned, we, in a curriculum and instruction meeting, when our team was meeting, we were talking about all the great things that were happening with CTE, with the different programs and the things that the different schools were doing. And we thought, parents need to know this. Our community needs to know this. We have to highlight all of this. And we thought this would be a great way to do it. We had even the district departments, for example, student services, we had a booth there, and we talked about all our different initiatives that we do. We had flyers and resources. At every elementary school site, our junior high or high school, every single site put together a beautiful display. It almost became a little competitive to see who is going to have the most information out there and resources and make it as fun as possible for our families and our community to enjoy. The after-school programs were there also highlighting some of the things that they do throughout the year. We also had our community partners, or for example, the Parlier Police Department. We had our fire department. We had just a variety of different stakeholders there, like Parlier Lions Club. We had the athletics department. There was so much to highlight, and parents, from the time they registered, they got a goodie bag, and they had a map of where all the booths were at, and we in addition to that, we gave them a little card that they would get signed off if they visited every booth, and then they were entered into a raffle at the end. So that was really nice. That motivated them to visit as many booths as possible. We had resources and activities. It was important to us that as the families were coming in, that this was a fun, enjoyable family event. So they weren't just going to come to a booth to get a flyer about a service that we provided. They were going to get to talk to the administration. They were going to get to talk to the staff, and they were going to do fun things. We had some school sets that did karaoke, some did dancing. They just got very creative in how they were going to engage the parents and the families. And so that was when we were registering everyone for a booth, we put that on the form. What is the resource you're going to provide, and what is the activity that you're also going to provide? So they planned this ahead of time. Another thing that always we know draws in parents are student performances. Parents want to see their children perform. So we had 3 hours of performances that included students from the elementary, from the junior high, we had the high school band, folklorico, dancing, the chorus. We had the talent show winners. We had recently had a talent show, so we highlighted those winners at this event. And something that was a lot of fun, we had our school mascots to participate in a dance-off. The kids really enjoyed that. Another thing that really drawed parents to come into this event, that we decided to offer kindergarten registration. We kicked off kindergarten registration at this event, and we actually registered 90 new students. So these were all things that we wanted to maximize the services and the resources and the engagement. It took a lot of planning. We were meeting weekly, going over everything we were going to offer, including food booths. We had food booths. Migrant program was there also to meet the families. So in looking at some of the barriers to engagement, we addressed them through the Parlier Unified School District Showcase. By being very accessible to the parents. We were there all administrators were present. All our staff was there to engage the parents. So this is definitely one of our top signature projects, and we will continue to put this together every year and continue to grow. These are some of the pictures that you can see here. We had banners for all the programs so that it was easy for the parents to identify what booth that was. And as you can see by the pictures, it was well attended. It was a lot of fun and very beneficial to our community. And next, we're going to highlight another one of our signature projects. And we talked a little bit about it, and that's going to be Success Together and some of the work that they've been doing with our families. And I'd like to introduce Eric Morin.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Lydia. And thank you for the opportunity. My name is Eric Morin. I'm the COO for Success Together, but I also have the fortunate opportunity to serve as a workshop facilitator as well within our organization. So I've had the opportunity to partner with Parlier Unified for about the past 3 full school years now. And as Dr. Diaz alluded to earlier, we were with another organization before, and then when the pandemic hit, they made the tough decision to cut out the program at the time. And my partner and I decided that this was a great opportunity to be able to continue the work and to try to continue the momentum that we had made in our community, to continue serving families and to continue partnering with schools and supporting the families in our community. So Success Together, we are a local nonprofit. Our focus is on parent education and supporting the families. We've been a proud partner, as I said, for 3 years of our work with them, but as Success Together, it's been this past school year. And what an interesting year it was to be able to start off the work that we do in the middle of a pandemic year. But I think what was really special about this year is the past several years, I think, all of our administrators and teachers can agree with it, is we always tried to preach to parents the importance of being involved, being engaged, checking in with your students. And a lot of times parents would just say, that's for the teacher to do. That's for the school to do. And we would try to tell them, you need to be involved. And then the pandemic hit, and now their students were at home, and they had to be engaged, and they had to be interactive, and they had to be more involved. So it was really one of those, I think, humbling moments for a lot of parents who maybe realized I should have been doing more before. And we're hopeful that we continue to see more positive changes from parents as the world comes back to normal and schools are functioning in a more normal capacity. So the work that we get to do with the parents is we really want to try to support them. And throughout this past year, that meant being in a space and providing them a space to be able to share, to vent, to seek resources, or just to be able to connect with other parents after they had been maybe more isolated than they were used to. So the classes that we provide are in various areas. We have academics, social, emotional. That's really where a lot of our work was this past school year, but also computer literacy for parents. What we did do at the beginning of the school year, we had a few lessons that we had developed that we felt would be very beneficial to the schools and to the families as the school year started, especially in this virtual year that we had. But throughout the school year, as it progressed, we did ask, and we took surveys, and we got feedback from parents of what other types of topics do you want to see? Because we were planning on serving them again in the spring. So we took that feedback and created new content for them in the spring. And I think that was something that the parents have really appreciated, is that they share their feedback and that we use that feedback to provide something else to them. So I think just them seeing that we've been heard and that we are wanting to really be a partner and provide them something as well that's going to be beneficial and meaningful to them. I mean, they are taking time away from their children. They're taking time away from anything else they could be doing. So we want to make sure that whatever they do with us is worthwhile and meaningful to them. So in a world prior to the pandemic, the classes that we provide are either at the beginning of the school day. So essentially, as parents are dropping off their little ones, hey, don't leave, don't go back to your car, just stay on campus, come in. Normally we would have coffee, a continental style breakfast. We provide childcare. We really want parents to feel welcome and to feel that this is for them. We would also provide written materials and instruction in both English and Spanish. And then in the evenings, we would provide still childcare. And then we were also providing dinner as well. So a lot of the times in my role as a facilitator for the workshops, I'm going down the list, calling families. And if I could tell them, hey, we have this class at Berletic on Wednesday night, please join us. Oh, I don't have anybody to watch my kids. No, bring them. We have childcare. We're going to have activities for them. Oh, but I have to make dinner for my family. Nope. Bring them on by. We're going to have pizza. We're going to have Panda Express this week. So we really try to make it a point to reduce any of the barriers that they would have to participating. And on top of that, we were also providing them take-home materials that went along with the lesson that we were teaching them, so that way they could engage their children at home. While the classes were shifted to online this year, we did the same thing, and we sought out feedback from parents about timing of the classes. So we did surveys prior to the beginning of the school year, and we tried to figure out what are the time slots that work for the parents, not necessarily for us as an organization. And parents said, give us later classes, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Our kids are calm, they've already had dinner. I can go and do my thing because my kids are winding down at the time. We wanted to be responsive to parents. As I mentioned before, the classes and materials are offered in English and Spanish. And we just are trying to become more aware of everything that's happening in the communities that we serve. And in Parlier, come April, they have a lot of migrant families moving into the migrant camps as the seasons of agriculture are changing. So we wanted to make sure that we made opportunities available to them for these classes to be available. We're very excited, and we're very fortunate to have the opportunity to have served with Parlier these last few years, and we hope to continue this partnership and continue growing the parent relationships that are in there, because we certainly felt some of that mistrust at the beginning, but we've tried to start coaching and supporting the families and saying, hey, you know what, that's a great suggestion, but you don't need to go pounding into the principal's office about your issues. There's a different way to go about them, and trying to really support them in how can they make their needs and their concerns heard, but in a productive and respectful way as well. So just thank you again to Parlier Unified and the other staff for allowing us the opportunity to serve your parents and to serve your community.
All right, thank you, Eric. And then the last area that we've been focusing on, and this has been a couple of years in the making, has been the Family and Community Empowerment Program, better known as FACE. And this was actually an acronym that we've now seen used in the California Collaborative, several different school districts. So the biggest form of flattery is to beg, borrow, and steal, right? So the name works, let's use it. So in looking at our FACE program, our goals were by this late spring to identify and hire the FACE coordinator, which has been accomplished. And then that the start of the coordinator would happen in July, which will happen. And then this fall, we'll have the development and organization of the Family and Community Empowerment Coordinator Center that will be housed here at the district office. Now, we're also going to collaborate with our newly developed Parlier Adult School as they will be sharing a building. And so you can start to see the formation of how we're going to really engage into our community and start to build that educational partnership that we've set out. By spring of 2021, we want to be able to start the hosting of our LCAP, parent community input meetings, DLAC meetings, and other parent meetings through our FACE office. And then looking ahead to fall of 2022, looking how Success Together can merge and work with our FACE coordinator and looking at how to offer our parenting classes in a co-hosting environment. And then begin initial training for site liaisons of the FACE program by spring 2023. And then by fall of 2023 and spring of 2024, being able to host parent graduations of parent ESL classes, parent education classes in collaboration with Parlier Adult School. So you can see how we really want to expand the offerings of our FACE program and really become much more entrenched as an educational partner with our community stakeholders, parents. So a lot of work, a lot of things going into play, and none of this is possible without this group in play. As we said here, that we were able to have most of our team on camera this evening. We were missing our administrators from our junior high school, as well as acknowledging our partner over at the county office, Fresno County Superintendent of Schools. And so we want to make sure that we do thank all of our team members that are a part of this. And as we said, if you have the opportunity, please do take a follow to us on social media. We are very proud of our programs, very proud of the opportunities and activities that we provide to our students, and really are excited and look forward to the growing opportunities for our students to share and all of the successes they're going to have here in Parlier Unified. We thank you for watching our video today, and please contact us if you have any questions. Thank you again.
Thank you, Parlier Unified School District. Thank you for sharing those effective community engagement practices that you have in place, supporting your students through authentic partnerships. I'm very happy today to welcome Verde Unified School District, Carla de la Torre, Family Engagement Director, and Ileana Dodge, Family Engagement Manager. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for that introduction. Hello, my name is Carla de la Torre, the Director of Family Engagement for the Verde Unified School District. I am accompanied today by our powerhouse Family Engagement Manager, Ileana Dodge, and we're honored to be here today teaming with Parlier Unified School District to share best practices for highly effective family engagement. So let's start with a little bit about who we are and our history with family engagement. We are located in Riverside County. We serve close to 20,000 students in the communities of Paris and Moreno Valley. We are comprised of 22 schools, 12 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, 4 high schools. We also offer a preschool, a virtual school, and an adult school. Now, as many of you watching know, the subject of family engagement is so important. But it can be really tricky because it's the one area that teachers and administrators will rightly point out and say, hey, I was never taught how to do family engagement. This wasn't part of my credential program. This wasn't part of my administrative program. And so it can feel like a really fuzzy area for people, leaving them to ask, what does family engagement look like? What does highly effective family engagement look like? And if we travel back in time to 2011, 2012, when Ileana and I, our paths crossed. We were newbies promoted to the district office, and we came together and we were asking ourselves that same question. What does family engagement, what does highly effective family engagement, what is that supposed to look like? And so we knew as a district that we wanted to find a way to celebrate the amazing families that we were working with day in and day out. And we began to build a vision around that goal. In those first few years, we were able to really just chip away and establish trusting and authentic relationships with families, as well as develop key partners in the work like CABE, Project to Inspire. And we really began to solidify our own Valverde model of family engagement. But the real change happened for us back in 2014 when we were able to open our very first family engagement center. Here's a picture of us back on day one of that opening day when we were able to open our doors to families. It was at that time, LCAP had just come into play and family engagement was now a state priority. And thank goodness for our Board of Education, our superintendent and his cabinet being the forward thinkers that they are. They made family engagement one of our top priorities in the district. Understanding the amazing return that can happen when we invest in our families. And so we really like to stress that this work doesn't happen alone. Today, Ileana and I are presenting, but we represent a whole team of staff and our parent leaders, our family leaders out there in our community. It takes all of our leadership. We have a very supportive, as I mentioned, Board of Education, our superintendent and his cabinet. It takes everybody coming together and believing. And so today, our Family Engagement Center serves as a whole system support for our families and community, meaning we serve as a hub for anything that students, families, and community might be interested in or need. And we are very, very clear today on what family engagement means to us in Valverde. Everything that we do is built on 3 core principles. The first being that families are valued equal partners in everything we do. We listen to the priorities and ideas of our community rather than telling families what's important and what matters. We want to know what matters to our community. Second, we celebrate the already existing cultural, familial, and societal knowledge that our families bring to the table. This is really the heart of our work. We like to create platforms where families can connect all of those rich cultural, familial knowings with the school knowings. And once you make that connection, that's where families can take their place as change agents, as leaders in their child's education and within our community. And then most importantly, for us, our model has really been centered around family leadership, where Valverde families take an active role as the leaders they are within the school district, assisting with all aspects of decision-making throughout our organization, especially as it relates to the LCAP. We work very, very hard to lead with our ears by listening and engaging families around topics that matter to our community. Everything we offer is a direct result of what families have told us that they want to see happening or offered within our district. We're able to listen through surveys, through interviews. We run focus groups. We observe and listen and participate within family advisory committees across the district. Families have helped us develop numerous offerings, more than can be listed here today. but all of those offerings fall within these 5 bucket categories. We have offerings for family support, for academics, of course. We have a robust adult education program and many adult education offerings. We, as mentioned previously, we really focus on family leadership, building leadership opportunities for families. We also offer a great deal around health and social emotional well-being. And then another really important one is family networks of support, where families can come to support one another, and you have that parent-to-parent networking, that parent-to-parent voice, that parent-to-parent leadership. And again, the power of listening and creating ways to capture strong family voice has been vital for us in Verde. It helps us know which direction we want to take, how to build up, how to modify any of the offerings. Everything that we do has been a result of listening to our community. And because of that, all of the offerings truly represent the community we serve. Currently, we come together around the specific priorities of our multilingual English learner families, our Black and or African American families, Guatemalan families who speak other languages outside of Spanish, our Asian and Pacific Islander families, as well as foster families and families experiencing homelessness. We have dedicated meetings and specific support for each community we serve, as well as bringing all families together in general. Also noteworthy is that we created what we call a two-prong approach for family engagement to really ensure equity and access for all families, while also being able to differentiate between the needs of each unique school site we serve. We like to call ourselves both centralized as well as differentiated and dynamic. We are centralized in the way that we have a base of district resources where families from any school across the district can participate in a given offering or event. And that really ensures equity and access to every single offering available, whether it's currently offered at a family's given site or not. And then we also like to call ourselves differentiated and dynamic because we run a model where school sites, based on their own local control, they're able to make the decisions about the offerings they want to see. So we provide principals and families a menu of offerings that they can choose from based on their own site needs, based on their own priorities and ideas. This, of course, is in addition to any of their own organic initiatives that they run on their own, math night, reading night, etc. And we also bring in services to those events, either through our team or bringing in any of our community partners who can support in those localized efforts. But again, if something's not being offered at an individual school site, that doesn't mean that any parent, they can always return back to the district. And if something's not at their site, then they still have access to it by coming to the district office where all of the offerings are offered there as well. And then one big aha that our families have shown us over the years as we really begin to develop our model and our vision for family engagement is that true family engagement happens on a spectrum where it takes on many, many different forms, some very visible, some not so visible, but both are equally important. We've witnessed parents leverage their leadership within their homes, within their neighborhoods. We've seen parents exercise their leadership on advisory committees. Parents have gone back to school to continue their education, becoming employees and even teachers within our district, as well as start their own businesses and run nonprofit organizations. We've seen multiple examples of families being engaged and showing their leadership. In Verde, our families have really shown us that there is no single way to do family engagement. And so for us, family engagement has proven to be dynamic and nimble. And it only truly becomes highly effective family engagement when built around strong family voice and leadership. So here you'll see our metrics, and all of our metrics are designed around capturing that family voice that we keep talking about, and really observing participant trends. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Ileana Dodge, who will speak to the soul of family engagement work by diving a little deeper into some of these characteristics that we find absolutely necessary for highly effective family engagement.
Thank you, Dr. De La Torre, for that introduction. Yes, here at Verde, we have done a lot of work based on building relationships of trust with our family. And that has been an essential component in everything that we do. And it's important to highlight the fact that this has been a journey. It's not something that happened overnight. And one of the first things that we want to mention is that as we were slowly building our team of family engagement, we wanted to make sure that everything we did was based on showing everyone how much we loved our families and that we valued our families and their voice. But this was not something that happened only within the family engagement team. It's something that everyone has to be convinced of. And that means the leadership, that means the teachers, and that means classified staff. Everyone here at the district needs to be convinced. And so in the beginning, when you're first starting, if you need to have a conversation with someone who may not, just provide that smile when a parent walks into your office. It's going into the minimal details and just making sure that we are all on the same page, that we are welcoming our families to our events with a smile. You know, in previous times, maybe with a hug, but it's important that we give that time to our families and let them be heard. So you want to develop these relationships by having a sit down, inviting them over and talking. And maybe it's not going to be necessarily about their child's academic journey. It could just be about life. And those are the moments that we need to value and just be the humans that we are, so that eventually these families trust us. In addition, it's important that our families feel that they will be heard. So what does this look like on the ground? That means meeting with them and having them feel that they will be heard and that what they have to say matters, and that we will be including their opinions into our larger plan as a district, because we know that what they are requesting does have substance and needs to be followed up upon. So these powerful conversations differ from year to year. Maybe one year the main focus will be to listen to families with children in special education and how we can support them. Maybe another year it's going to be addressing concerns that our African American families have, or our Asian American families. So each year will be different, and we need to be ready for those changes and also be flexible. And so how do we know that we're going into, that we're moving in the right direction? You might say at one point, oh, we've come full circle, but that's not it. If you believe that you've reached the end of the journey, then you're missing the point, because the journey is continuous. It's something that doesn't end. And so in order to get better, you need to realize that it's an ongoing learning process. It's an ongoing learning process for our families, but most importantly, it's an ongoing learning process for the team, for us here at the district, because each year provides new opportunities for growth. And that can only happen by understanding that, because every year there might be new
team members, there are new leaders, there are new families, new students. And so each of them, they come with different needs. And as we acknowledge that, then we learn to improve upon so that we can provide better services for our families. And of course, all of this does not happen in a silo. It takes a very big team. The most importantly, it's throughout the district. But if you're starting off with a small team like we did, eventually you can seek to grow. And with that, I want to thank you. These are the people that work with us and that are dedicating to serving our community. And most importantly, we do it with heart. Thank you.
Thank you, Verde Unified School District. Thank you for sharing some of the effective community engagement practices that you have in place to help support our students through authentic partnerships. Thank you for joining us today. We hope today's webinar supports you and your community engagement efforts. If you would like to learn more about best practices or the Community Engagement Initiative, please visit our website at californiaengage.org.